So, boys, Jonah, you want to give a little intro? Are we going to just talk about
Yep. So basically, we've each picked out one player and one team that we've either been like focused on or interested in throughout the week, and we're just gonna hit on those teams. And I guess we might as well start with Dallas. I mean, it's 9 a.m., so it would seem appropriate. And I think the place we've got to start is with that classic game on Saturday.
Oh, dude. Yes, let's
that was
go.
A battle.
That game
was a battle, bro.
Huh?
That was a battle.
Did you watch it? I thought you weren't about to watch that shit.
I watched the highlights.
Oh, baby.
But yeah,
I was so depressed after that game, though. But I mean, you know what? It doesn't really matter. But you know what actually made me
from what I could see, bro, Curry was just untouchable, bro.
He's the best player.
Like the threes he was making, like he was literally like stumbling, like about to fall on the ground and then pull up right out of that. I don't know how you make that.
Did you see? He pulled up from Dame range, dude.
To me, the biggest takeaway was just how good both these offenses were and how both teams were sort of getting it done in very different ways. They both finished with offensive ratings of 127. Like, this was a very close game. And like, as Jeff Van Gundy kept pointing out as the game was going on, the defense might have been suboptimal. But the biggest story here was just the duel between Luka Doncic and Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry was incredible in the first half, 7 of 10 3-point shooting. And he continued that throughout the entire game. The Warriors, as a collective, like throwing Andrew Wiggins and Kent Bazemore in this as well, just an incredible shooting performance.
I saw Kent Bazemore balled out, dude.
Yeah, and
he does every night.
They turned the ball over quite a bit, and they weren't offensive rebounding at all, which is what makes their efficient offensive night so impressive. They were just shooting the absolute lights out of the gym. The Mavericks, they had a more well-rounded offensive performance, which is what you would maybe expect to get out of a Luka Doncic-led team. But it was really Steph Curry's night in the first half, and it was only in the second half, specifically the fourth quarter, where Luka Doncic just would not be outdueled. I mean, Curry, he still finished with, what was it, 52 points?
7, right?
Yeah, it was like 57.
57, yeah. On 11 of 18 from beyond the arc, 19 of 30 total, got to the line 8 times. Yeah, both teams were shooting a ton of three-pointers. Both teams were shooting very efficiently. I think both above 40%. So just an incredible offensive night. And just very exciting to watch two of the game's best point guards just go at each other like that.
Yeah, and Draymond had like 15 assists in the first game, and I don't know how many he got in the second game, but absolute distributor, dude. He's so
It was a great Draymond Green game too. Sure, he's been a huge help to the offense. I want to talk about him when we get to the Warriors. But Channon, you wanted to talk about the Mavericks today, and they finally broke that long losing streak on Saturday. They're now 10-14, which I think that's 14th in the Western Conference as of right now. They have a negative 2.6 point differential, which is the 22nd best in the NBA. They have the league's 13th offense, the 27th defense. 538's Raptor gives them a 47% chance at making the playoffs, and 538's Elon rating gives them a 17% chance at making the playoffs. So what do you think about Dallas?
Jeez, bro. I just want to talk, like, what's going on? Like, I think that we expected them to kind of be the team they were against the Warriors, where they're just like offensive monsters. And like, but I mean, they did take some step backs. They dealt Steph. So, I mean, and I think there was someone else, but I think we expected them to kind of regress a little bit offensively. But like with adding Jay Rich and like, I don't know, I guess we thought the defense would be a little better than 27th. I mean, they're still like, I don't know, but like, obviously this isn't what we expected from Dallas. We all had them in the playoffs, like not even like at the bottom of the bracket. Like, I don't know. They're just down bad right now, I guess.
Yeah, and to be fair, they have missed a bunch of games due to COVID or like Kristaps coming back from that knee injury. Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleba. Those guys have all missed large
I
swaths.
low-key don't like Kristaps.
No,
I don't
Kristaps
like his game.
slings 3 balls. It's crazy.
Dude, that's all he wants to do, though. Like, you're like 7'5", and he just like
Anthony Tolliver.
Yeah,
Hey.
dude. Like, he literally just like top of the key every time. Let me get the ball and let me just shoot it every single time. 7'5", tallest guy in the court. Let me just shoot this 3. It's annoying.
Yeah, and I think teams, and I noticed the Warriors doing this a ton, especially they were kind of pressed into this with Draymond at center. But teams can switch that Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis pick and roll, because with a guy like Kristaps, you're not really worried about him bullying smaller players. He's been terribly inefficient in the post throughout his entire career, and that certainly has not changed this season so far. And so, yeah, if he's not able to like punish smaller players or hit the 3 with any consistency, and I do think we'll start to see him hit more of the 3s just as he kind of works his way back into the rhythm of his game. But yeah, the Mavericks offense, like you were saying, Channon, it's not the Mavericks offense of last year. That's for sure.
Yeah, he needs to like develop like a short corner fadeaway or something. Because imagine a shot like that. Who's going to guard that? If he fades and like the low or like the mid post and stuff like that, who's guarding that? You just got to get a hand up. There's nothing you can do. It's like a Kevin Durant situation. He just wants to shoot 3s at the top of the key.
Yeah.
And dude, Tim Hardaway and Jalen Brunson, they're kind of buckets sometimes too. They're dangerous. If you from beyond the arc too, I mean, they were sinking 3 balls in the 2 games that they played.
Yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr. specifically, I think he's 38%. Jalen Brunson, his 3-point shooting, as you were saying, has been all right. I'm a little disappointed in his point guard play. I actually thought he was one of the better backup point guards in the NBA last year. And this season, that hasn't really been the case so far. The Mavericks offense has been very bad in the minutes when Luka Doncic has been off the floor. And it's just been Jalen Brunson, which is surprising. And again, they've missed a lot of key pieces throughout the course of the year. And I also think we kind of underestimated how important Seth Curry was to the Mavericks offense. I think they really miss him a lot. And Josh Richardson should get better. And I think the reason they brought him in was, of course, because of the playoffs. They just really had nobody to slow down like a Paul George or a Kawhi Leonard last year. So adding one more perimeter defender was a big priority for them during the offseason. And that's probably not something we're going to see pay dividends until they make the playoffs and have to go up against one of those players, just because you can really win a lot of games just by maximizing offense in the regular season. But yeah, so far that trade is not looking good for Dallas, and that's only kind of accented by how unwell Seth Curry's playing for the Sixers, of course.
Yeah.
Not so much throughout the past several weeks after he's contracted COVID, but he really got off to a hot start in Philadelphia.
Yeah. All I know is Luka, when he's hot, that man doesn't miss. It doesn't matter how far away he is from the basket, dude. It's insane. Every time he shot against the Warriors, I was just like, oh, shit. And most of the time he made it. So
yeah, and that really hadn't been something that was going well for Luka in the early part of the season. Like, one of the bigger storylines for the Mavericks throughout the first month of the season was just how bad Luka Doncic's 3-pointer was. He started off the season something like 26%, and I think now he's finally getting up into the 29, 30, 31% range from 3. But it is true, he really needs that 3-pointer working in order to beat defenses, because other than that, like, he's an incredibly shifty, smart player, so he can get past guys otherwise. But when teams can sort of like give him a buffer, those change of pace moves become so much less effective. And so he really needs that step back 3 as a counter, just so teams are forced to play him closer, so then he can really take advantage of the strength of his game, which is sort of his shiftiness and ball handling that allows him to get inside against defenses. And so, yeah, that step back 3, it's never something that I think is going to be extremely efficient for him. Like, I don't think he's going to get to like Harden, Lillard, Curry levels of shooting. That would be very surprising to me. but he does need to make it like at least 30% of the time, just so defenses have to respect it. And that's certainly what he did against the Warriors on Saturday. He really had that shot working. I think he finished 7 of 12 from beyond the arc. And like you were saying, Kellan, a lot of those were like deep, high difficulty attempts. So that was a good thing to see from Luka.
Yeah, for sure. But the Mavericks, they're going to be good. I mean, if they put up that much, I mean, there wasn't really the Warriors just got hell out rebounded. What was it? The second game, it was around 15-6 offensive rebounds. Like so yeah. Once the war if the one I don't know. That's
what happens when you're not really playing with a traditional center. We'll talk more about that later, but that could be a problem for them going forward.
Could be. I think it's going to be a massive problem, especially if Steph doesn't drop 40 or 50.
Yeah. Channon, do you have any last Mavericks thoughts?
I'm just not feeling them right now, dude.
Yeah.
You're not?
They got to put something together, bro. I'm not feeling them right now.
Would you still have them in your playoffs if you had to reevaluate that today?
Based on how they're playing right now, I have them like in the freaking tournament, bro. In the
playing
action, dude. Like the Spurs look better than them, but
yeah. And I mean, that's how, like, I brought this up at the beginning, like the 538 models, which have been somewhat predictive over the past few years. Both of those models give them less than a 50% shot at the playoffs. And so, yeah, it's a little bit weak in Dallas. I think things are going to get better once I want to see them play for at least a month with their full strength. Before I make any judgments that are too harsh. But yeah, the early results have not been promising out of North Texas. So
yeah.
It's so funny watching Mark Cuban whenever Steph goes off. He's just like, dude, can we catch a break here? It's so funny.
Yeah. Now, so why don't we go over to their counterparts from that game, the Golden State Warriors, who the Warriors are now 12-11, but have a negative 0.8 point differential, which is 15th in the league. So there has been a little bit of luck playing into that record. They have been good in close games so far. They've got the league's 19th best offense and the 14th best defense. They're 1-2 since our podcast last week. And I know the untrained eye at home may be thinking, oh, but Jonah, I thought they went 3-0. And no, that's not the case. They just talked and celebrated so much after the one win that it felt like 3 wins. But nope, still 1-2 this week. The Raptor gives them a 25% shot at the playoffs. Elo gives them a 31% chance of making the playoffs. And they're currently tied for 8th in the West. Kellan, why don't you lead us off here?
All right, let's do this. So the Warriors killing it, all right? No big men. That is just slap in the face. No Kevon Looney. Jonah dropped some absolute knowledge in the chat.
No, Kellan, I actually am going to push back on that a little bit. I think the lack of big men has been something that's actually really helped them the past few games.
Okay, but you're just a Wiseman hater, though, guy. Wiseman would help so much. Just having a presence there. No, hear me out. Just having a presence.
Bro.
Just have a presence down low. That allows for Lee and Bazemore to get rebounds, okay?
No, I don't think that's the case, but we'll talk about
either. Because Wiseman can't rebound, bro.
I mean, he got 9 in one of his last times out.
9, bro. 7-footer getting 9 rebounds, bro.
We could have used 9 rebounds last time against the Mavericks.
Bro, I think someone else got those 9, bro. 9's not hard to divvy out.
I'm just saying, dude. But okay, Draymond. I just looked at
all of playing good basketball too. So there are a lot of other categories that have gone up.
Mm-hmm. But Draymond, I just looked it up. He had 30 total assists in the 2 games against the Mavericks. Fire. Yeah. So when he's playing, what do you call that? Like a point center or something, or taking the ball up the court or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But yeah, he is an absolute distributor. But it just killed us not having a big man over the last 2 games. But our shooting was insane. But it was led by obviously Steph and Kelly freaking Oubre.
Okay, so let's say you have James Wiseman at center. Then what about those 15 Draymond assists? What if you only get 8 of those? Like that kills you more than 9 more rebounds.
Yeah.
8 assists is 16 points at least.
It would help to have Pascal, I feel like. But I don't know. I mean, everything just rides or dies on Steph anyway. Because I don't know. It low key does.
No, I don't think that's. I just don't think.
Who else? Wiggins is only scoring like 18 points a game.
Well, Steph dropped 57. And
I really think that as good as Steph's been, like I think you kind of need Draymond to unlock him, and that's sort of what we've seen.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I was rewatching something because I was going back and making timestamps. Jonah, I saw it boiling inside of him when I said I'd rather have Kelly Oubre than JJ Redick. It was so funny watching Jonah back. He's like, really? No, you wouldn't, because you said JJ would unlock this offense. But I'm just saying, I feel like JJ would be a liability because as it is, we don't have a ton of guys that can guard some perimeter, like long guards and stuff. And Kelly does that. Plus he gets boards and he's so long and he's turning it up from beyond the arc and he's pretty explosive.
It's also destroyed the culture in Golden State.
What's up?
He's also single-handedly destroyed the culture in Golden State.
Sure, but I also think the defense, that hasn't necessarily been the problem for the Warriors. I mean, their offense has been the thing that's been like below average. So I just think sacrificing one of your wing defenders for a guy who really is going to kind of work in a similar way as Stephen Curry, obviously nowhere near as good, but just having another guy who can knock down shots. You've got King Bazemore, you've got Andrew Wiggins, like especially Bazemore, that he can fill a very similar role to Kelly Oubre. Even a guy like Damian Lee, like if you guys traded Oubre, like Lee, he's not that much worse than Kelly Oubre. I mean, Oubre, his on-ball defense against guards, that's been very good for the Warriors this year. But I really don't think he's that unreplaceable. I just think having another weapon on offense with the Warriors offense struggling the way it has been, especially earlier in the season, the past few games, especially Stephen Curry, he's been on fire of late. So the offense has been looking a little better. But I just think having another weapon, so like you were saying, it just doesn't all fall on the shoulders of how good is Stephen Curry shooting on that particular night. I just think having sort of that plugged into your system would be a big help.
Yeah.
But just this little sampling of Warrior statistics, like I said before, they have an offensive rating of 110.8, which is below average. With Curry on the floor, that goes up to 114.5, which is obviously a lot better. With Curry and Draymond Green, 117.1. So it really has been Draymond Green who has kind of unlocked Curry. Obviously, the Warriors need Stephen Curry on the floor to have a competent offense, but it really was the first. It really was when Draymond Green came back into the game after, like, recall the first 5 games of the season, the Warriors were awful, and those were the 5 games that Draymond Green missed, and it really was only the following games that the Warriors finally started to find footing, especially on offense. And so I really think so much of what the Warriors do is just predicated on players who can keep the ball moving, make quick decisions, and have a high basketball IQ. And without Klay Thompson, without Andre Iguodala, without Kevin Durant, without Sean Livingston, without so many of the guys who we remember from the prime years of the Golden State Warriors, there just aren't too many of those really smart, intelligent players on the team anymore. And so just having a guy like Draymond Green who keeps the ball moving, usually makes the right decision on offense. Sure, his turnovers are way up this year, but that's also just a product of how often he's played with the ball in his hands and how much of the playmaking responsibility has been placed on him. But just having a guy like that is so important to this offense, because Stephen Curry, for as wonderful as he is, he's not a guy like Damian Lillard where you can just put the ball in his hands, run 50 pick and rolls, and automatically have a good offense. Like, that's just not his game, and that's totally fine. That probably makes Stephen Curry a better player at a championship level when you do have really good teammates on your team. He probably plays better with other star players than Damian Lillard is, but he's not this guy where you can just put him on the league's worst offense and he'll turn them into a top 10 offense. He's not like Damian Lillard in that respect, where he can have that profound of an impact on every play, no matter who his teammates are.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, you put Looney or Wiseman in there for Juan Toscano Anderson,
Kellan, I don't think that's the case because when you look at their
Why? We can't play defense. We gave both games. Dallas had 70 points at halftime.
Okay, sure, but here in the 831 possessions where James Wiseman's been the center, the Warriors have been outscored by their opponents by 10.4 points per 100 possessions.
Put Pascal in.
in the 277 minutes when Draymond Green's been the center, the Warriors are outscoring opponents by 17.2 points per 100 possessions. For those of you keeping score at home, that's a difference of 27 points per 100 possessions. Like when you take James Wiseman out of the game and put Draymond Green at center, and I'll concede this: the defense is 2 points per 100 possessions worth with Draymond at the 5, but the offense is 21 points per 100 possessions better. And I hate to say this, but like James Wiseman getting hurt over the past week, that's probably helped the Warriors.
Oh, that's so mean.
And I'm not saying bench James Wiseman. Well, I mean, Steve Kerr did bench James Wiseman, but I'm not saying take him out of the rotation, because he's a rookie, and so he's the future of the franchise in a sense. Whether that means he's going to be the Warriors' best player in 10 years. Or whether he's going to be the main piece in a trade for another superstar within the next 12 months. That's hard to say. But the Warriors do need to invest minutes and invest time into developing him. And sure, that's probably going to hurt the quality of the team this year. But you're not just going to take the second overall pick of the draft and not give him any minutes. But yeah, he has been harmful when he's been on the floor. And Draymond Green, when Draymond's been on the floor, I said they had a net rating of 17.2. If you extrapolated that, that would be the best team in the league. So when Draymond Green has been the center, the Warriors have been the best team in the NBA. And so I really think that
we are championship basketball.
And that's one of the reasons why I was so glad when you picked the Warriors out as the team you wanted to talk about this week, is these past few games for Golden State have been so instructive to me as a viewer. And I'm sure they have been for Steve Kerr too. There were so many people, and I'll be the first to admit it, myself included, who were kind of questioning Draymond heading into the season, wondering if he was maybe a little bit past his sell-by date. And no, that hasn't been the case. Sure, he doesn't bring it night after night like he maybe did in 2015, but he's shown when he throws his fastball and when he's really invested, he's still got it. There are nights when there are nights when he is their most important player, and I think the stats definitely reflect that.
Yeah. And sometimes he feels himself a little too much. I'm like, no, Draymond, you just threw it out of bounds. You just wasted a possession.
Channon, do you want to talk a little bit about the Warriors center situation?
Well, I mean, we already know the deal with James Wiseman.
God, haters, dude, it's so annoying.
It's not looking good for him, bro.
Good.
I definitely agree that Draymond's a better option at center if you want to have a competent offense.
Or Kevon Looney.
Yeah, or Kevon Looney. Yeah, James Wiseman's a bad player. He needs some time. I think they'd be better off just kind of putting them in their back pocket and letting him work out with trainers for a while until he's ready to see the court again.
He's so not a bad player, Jonah.
Kellan, this year he is.
Did you not see it? He freaking took off from the free throw line and he had 2 of those identical slams in his last time. I forget what game that was.
And that's not to say that,
dude, that's kind of nice, but he still sucks.
that's not to say that he's never going to turn into a good player. I mean, I would say I was pretty high on James Wiseman. I had him in my top 5 entering the draft. I don't know if I could really say that about him anymore, but he still certainly has time to develop into one of the best centers in the NBA. And so, maybe not one of the best centers, but he can still be a very quality player. When you just look at his physical attributes, his athleticism, his size, I really am not foreclosing on the possibility of James Wiseman being an above average NBA center. I just think maybe some of the high end upsides, usually even with a guy like Rudy Gobert, who didn't see the floor much in his rookie year, he was a really late first round pick. You could still see some of the defensive instinct, some of the shot blocking. usually with stuff like that, usually with the top tier defensive centers, you can see some of it right away. So the fact that we can't see any sort of defensive chops at all out of James Wiseman,
Oh my God.
that just sort
Offensively,
of
he's good.
that sort of takes some of the highest end outcomes off the table. Like, remember, I was saying before the draft that he had like the tools to become one of the best defensive centers in the NBA. I don't really see that coming true for him anymore. But certainly the physical tools will always be there for him. And like, no matter what, I mean, he should have a career as a starting center in the NBA. But to say he's actually going to contribute to winning basketball this season, I just don't think that can happen.
Mm. Jonah, who do you think's MVP front runner right now?
Oh, I haven't thought about it so far.
Thinking Joel Embiid.
Probably, yeah, Joel Embiid. LeBron James, I think, is going to have a strong
those are my top
case.
two.
We'll have to do a podcast on that sometime because that's been interesting. But
you already know mine.
Any more Draymond Green thoughts, or James Wiseman, or Kevon Looney for that matter? Any Warriors thoughts?
No, we're just going to be a pain in the rear for whoever we play. We're going to sweep the Spurs. The Spurs games are going to be fun.
Yeah. Are you playing them coming up?
Twice, yeah. Tonight
first game is tonight.
Huh?
Yeah,
first game against the Spurs tonight. And also notable because that's the game that Nate Duncan and Danny LaRue are doing for the NBA cast. So it should be a fun
also,
to watch.
We should do a podcast because the Warriors get another, I think, is it Friday? We get another crack at the Nets. So that'll be kind of fun.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I think that's right.
Wiseman could be back.
That'll be a tough one.
But that might not even be a big difference, though, huh?
Well,
it won't even matter if Wiseman might as well.
It won't be a difference.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be a difference, I would guess. But
when do they play? Or is it Saturday? Oh, they play them Saturday. Nets at Warriors. So Steve's just going to call up James V. Be like, you can just stay at your apartment today, James. It's okay.
Oh, KD doesn't even get to play, does he?
Does he really?
Oh, yeah. He's still going to be out with the COVID absence, huh?
Yeah.
Does he have it? Or was it like tracing?
Tracing. That's one of the things where I really don't understand with the NBA testing system. I understand like having to treat everybody equally and like having to appear to be extra cautious. But really, Kevin Durant, he'd already had COVID. So the chances of him contracting it again are minimal. And he tested negatively 3 times
in 24 hours.
Yeah, in 24 hours on the day of the Raptors game. Like, what are we doing here, guys? If we're testing guys, what's the point of testing guys if they can get a negative test 3 consecutive times and still not play? Like, that didn't make very much sense to me.
And then pull him halfway through the game, bro. That was just bad.
I can understand Kevin Durant's frustration with that one.
Yeah.
Are we 100% sure you can't contract COVID twice?
Oh, you can contract it twice, but I mean the odds of that are very small at that point.
Yeah,
I mean, it's possible, but very unlikely. Especially even more unlikely that you have it when you've tested negative 3 times in 24 hours. Like the chances of them having it are just ridiculously small. But I understand that they have to be very cautious, especially from just maintaining appearances, and so they probably made the right call. I would, if Kevin Durant in the next 5 or 6 days tests positive for COVID for the second time, I will certainly eat crow. And so I think we might as well head northeast from San Francisco and hit on my team of the week, which is the Sacramento Kings, 7-8, or have won 7 of their past 8 games, I should say. They're now 12-11 with a negative 4.4 point differential. So they have certainly had a lot of luck. They've played very well in close games. A lot of that has been with the lineups that Luke Walton has gone to in the fourth quarter. We'll talk about that later. They've got the league's 9th best offense, the worst defense in the NBA. Raptor currently gives them a 17% chance at the playoffs. Elo gives them a 26% chance at the playoffs.
Didn't they just beat the Clips?
Yeah, they beat the Clippers yesterday without Paul George. And they're currently tied with the Warriors for 8th place in the Western Conference. So,
damn, how does that feel, Kellan?
Wait, what did you just say?
that the Kings and Warriors are the two teams tied at 12 and 11 for the 8th seed in the Western Conference right now.
The Warriors are gonna jump. We're gonna jump. That's for sure. Where are the Blazers at?
The Blazers are at 7th.
They're the 7th seed.
Yeah.
We're better
And
than the Blazers, dude.
If the Warriors' point differential is any indication, they will be jumping downwards because teams usually regress to their point differential. But
hasn't our point differential decreased though since the last time we've talked about it?
Their point
we're getting closer to 0,
worse.
Right?
Yeah, closer to 0, but still below 0. And so when you're when your point differential is below 0 and your record is above 500, that generally means that there's been some manifestation of luck, whether that's just playing really well in close games or
that's not luck.
Something along.
How is playing really well in close games luck?
Why?
Because that's generally something that tends to balance out over the course of the season.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've been seeing, our offense is fine. Wait, I don't see how that's luck.
No. The offense
can you say it's luck for everybody then?
Yeah, because there's been a lot of research done on this. It's one of those things where there have been very few teams throughout NBA history that have actually been better in close games. Usually close games are one of those things where it's just luck that
life out of you.
Who wins the game. There's no it's one of the it's like if you get blown out 8 times and you win 8 games by 1 point. You don't have the quality of a 500 team, even though your record's 500. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the case here.
Yeah, we're gonna be all right.
We're a week out from CJ McCollum's reevaluation.
Oh yeah, and about a month out of Nurkic's now.
Should be 3 weeks, right? 3 weeks.
Okay, yeah. So getting closer all the time. Speaking of Blazer centers, Hassan Whiteside, the renaissance has been going on for the Kings. He got pulled out of the game yesterday against the Clippers in favor of Chimezie Metu. But that game against Saturday, Jokic dropped 50 on the Sacramento Kings in a losing effort. And Hassan Whiteside was really the Nuggets' only option in terms of slowing him down. Granted, Jokic did give Whiteside a couple of buckets as well, but Whiteside certainly held up better to the Jokic crucible than Rashawn Holmes, than Marvin Bagley. And he's just in general been a very suitable backup center throughout this year, which I think is something that would have surprised some people in the offseason. It sort of felt as if Whiteside's career might be heading into the twilight. Recall he only signed for a minimum after withering on the vine for the first week of free agency. It certainly the optics did not appear to be too good for Whiteside, but he's been playing very well in Sacramento. So you love to see that.
Can the Warriors
love to see it?
What, Kellan?
Never mind. It's fine.
Did you say should the Warriors have gotten him?
Yeah, because we have no centers, dude. Marquise Chris. We need to see.
Yeah.
Like I said, Zaza needs to suit up.
Yeah, I did. This is a dumb. The Warriors, I don't think they have an open roster spot, do they?
No, we have to cut someone in order to get a new center if we were to. We'd have to cut Smileyich or something.
Oh, yeah, you would hate to see that happen.
I don't think he's played. Is he just on a 2-way and just shows up to games or what?
Yeah, he's heading on the same plane as Nico down to Florida. So
yeah.
So anyway, back to the Kings. They've been this year's version of the Memphis Grizzlies because they've got the good point guard, the good young point guard. So for Memphis, that was John Morant, and
good
for Sacramento, it's De'Aaron Fox. And
Fox is good, dude.
Yeah, and it just goes to show when you surround young players who are really good with that, with veteran talent and guys who are very good at their role. You get that baseline level of competency. And Harrison Barnes, he's been having a very solid year. Rashawn Holmes remains one of the most underrated centers in the league. I really applauded the Kings during their offseason, not only for drafting Tyrese Halliburton with the 12th pick, which now that just looks like an absolute steal, but also for getting players like Glenn Robinson III and Hassan Whiteside on minimum contracts. And those guys have both been very good bench players for them. Corey Joseph, he hasn't been incredible for them this season, but Kyle Guy, they finally gave Kyle Guy some minutes last night against the Clippers, and he looked pretty good. I'm going to have to focus in on his game probably a little bit more closely. He's not the best defender, but he's a smart player. He gets out in transition. He can make good passes. He's definitely a shooter, so maybe he can be something for him. He was drafted in the 2019 class, but he spent so much time at Virginia. I think he's already 22 or 23, so he's not young for a second-year player, but he certainly looks like he might be a guy who can give them a little bit in terms of just shooting on the wing, especially in transition. Like when it's him and Halliburton on the floor together, the Kings are really pushing the ball, which has been part of one of the reasons that those bench units have been so successful for them.
Yeah, dude. I'd love to see the Kings make the playoffs. That'd be dope.
That would be wild.
Yeah, and it worked out. The three teams we picked, really focusing on that sort of race for the bottom of the Western Conference playoffs this year. I think right now the only teams you'd be able to say are a lock are like the Lakers, Clippers, Jazz, and Nuggets. And after that, there are 4 spots, and it's like pretty wide open. You might be able to say the King or the Suns and the Blazers might have an edge up on the rest of the competition, but
it's so close though.
Very close right now. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how this season turns out, because really the Thunder and the Timberwolves are the only 2 teams you can point to as teams who are going to miss the playoffs. So there are 9 teams fighting for 4 spots, and it's just going to be very intriguing. We've still got 2/3 of the season to go, so a lot of time for teams to sort of separate themselves, even make trades, kind of bolster up their roster. But nobody is running away and hiding with those playoff spots in the West. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out.
For sure.
Really quick, speaking of white guys that can shoot.
Yeah.
What made you randomly text me about Justinian Jessup, and then you just ghosted me after that? You said Justinian Jessup looks like he'd be a good player. And then I was like, and then did he have a good game or something?
I was watching some of his film with the Illawarra Warhawks, which that was the team LaMelo played for last year. And that is the team that Justinian Jessup is currently on. And he's playing good. Like, he's dominating the Australian leagues. He's got a very well-rounded game, which was not something that I could say
lefty?
I expected from him. Yeah, he shoots the ball really well. He's getting double teamed by these Australian guys, so he's not having the easiest of looks, but his step back looks very nice. Just his shooting form on spot ups, he doesn't get too many of those, but his form looks amazing. I think he's going to be a player when he comes back to the Bay. And he said he does model his game after Duncan Robinson. Obviously, it's very easy to say you want to play like Duncan Robinson. Very few people can shoot as well as Duncan Robinson does. And so that may be wishful thinking, but if he can just come in and like shoot 38% and move a little bit off the ball, like that's someone who the Warriors could really use this year, especially like I was saying, JJ Redick would unlock the offense a little bit more. And like that, I do think that they could use that added shooter, especially if you're playing Draymond at center. Like Kelly Oubre, he's not a very good shooter. Wiggins actually has been having a very solid year from beyond the arc, but he's really not a guy who moves a lot without the ball, and defenses still don't respect him as a shooter. So he's not really a guy who's going to be bending the defense and wrecking havoc like a Redick or a Duncan Robinson would. And so although the production from Wiggins has been nice, he really doesn't fill that role as a shooter yet. Maybe if he keeps this up for a sustained amount of time, opponents will start adjusting their game plan to sort of focusing on him more off the ball. That has yet to be the case. So I think a guy like Jessup, he's got some size too. He's 6'4", has like broad shoulders. It looks like he's got a frame of like an NBA shooting guard. I think he's going to be, and it's hard to tell too, because he's going to be coming back next year. So it's hard to know, like with Klay Thompson back, the Warriors presumably are going to be even better next year. You would hope. Like it's hard to tell like how the rotation is going to shake out, whether there will be playing time for a guy like Jessup. But I mean, it's a good problem to have. Like the signs have been encouraging. For a late second round pick, it looks like the Warriors did very well with him.
Yes, sir. Really fast. The ESPN has their power rankings: Lakers at 1, Jazz at 2, Clippers at 3, Sixers at 4, and Bucks at 5. Would you agree?
I mean, that's not like the exact order, but I think those teams are fine.
Yeah, dude, but I would not
that's
put the
their
Jazz
power
at 2 if I was
rankings.
putting them in order.
What's up?
Yeah, I agree with Channon. If I were ranking, I would probably have the Jazz at like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I'd have them at 5, yeah.
Yeah. Just off the top of my head, I think I'd go Lakers, Clippers, Bucks, Nets, Jazz. That would be my top 5. I know.
Oh, yeah, actually, the Nets weren't even in there, bro. I'm taking...
Oh, yeah, Nets are
Yeah,
at
no, that would be
6.
mine. I agree with Jonah.
If Suns at 7?
What are the Suns 13 and 10 right now, or 13 and 9? 13 and 9. Yeah, they've been playing better. They got a big win against the Celtics yesterday. So yeah. I mean, they've kind of had an up and down season.
Spurs at 10?
Got off. Who's at 10?
Spurs?
Oh yeah,
that's wild.
I have a hard time getting that excited about San Antonio.
Dang, that's crazy.
10 in the league, bro.
Blazers 12, Warriors 13. Oh baby, let's go mid-pack. Yes, sir.
Dude, okay, speaking of the Blazers, let's talk about Nassir Little.
Yeah.
All right. So I know we were losing by 30 in the game where he, had his little breakout performance. However, he looked legit, bro. He looked so comfortable in the paint, navigating the paint, getting to the rack, shooting the step back 3, the pull up 3, the catch and shoot 3. He looked so comfortable and so ready to do it. Like I was just like shocked. Like I remember we've seen Ant score 30. Like there was that game like a couple years back against the Kings. I remember it was the last game of the season. He went crazy. But even like Anthony Simons and Gary Trent a little bit, but they don't look as comfortable like in the paint and stuff. Like Gary goes to that short mid-range shot where like the super high arcing shot. He goes to that a lot and he's comfortable getting that. But going to the rack, he still looks super timid. Mm-hmm. Same with Anthony, like he'll just kind of throw it up and it goes in sometimes, but it's not really consistent. Like Nassir was going strong and like finishing like a legit player would. And like I was so impressed with that dude. And it sucks that he got injured, but I think that he could actually contribute like a lot.
Yeah, especially the Blazers defense on the wing. Obviously, Robert Covington is a wonderful help defender, but he's not necessarily one of the league's better one-on-one defenders. So having an athletic, physical guy like Nassir Little, like that would be super helpful. And what is he shooting now? 67% from 3. Is it that high? It's something crazy. Like it's something that's unsustainable. Like he's not going to be a 40% 3-point shooter, but he looks comfortable enough taking them and the form looks really good. Yeah. So I think there's like a reason to believe that like he has sort of turned the corner, because last year when he was getting starts for the Blazers, recall like before Carmelo Anthony was signed by Portland, Nassir was able to start a few games, and the shooting form just did not look good at all. Like that,
no, not at all.
That's clearly something that he's worked on since then. Yeah. And so I really do think like he's turning into a guy who can definitely get some playing time. I mean, it's hard to tell. The rotation is just so crowded, especially with like Derek Jones, Rodney Hood, and Carmelo Anthony. Like if you were thinking like he might crack into the rotation, it's probably going to be at the expense of Melo, at least when the Blazers are fully healthy. And it's kind of hard to see that happening. Yeah. I don't know if that's something that the team would do, which probably isn't a good thing. But I'm very like I'm right there with you. Like Nassir has been super encouraging.
Yeah, bro. I think when he's called on, I think he can get it done, which is super important.
Bro, he's only 20.
People are always getting hurt for us, so
yeah. And
did you draft him last year?
One of the things. What?
Did you draft him last year?
Yeah.
Nice. Was he a first rounder?
What was he like? What?
Was he a first rounder?
Yeah, he was like the 24th pick.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
24th or 25th. And one of the things that you kind of see with the young guys in terms of their development, usually they start out like, especially with the wings, just shooting like those corner threes, and then later add on like attacking closeouts and doing more stuff off the dribble. And we're kind of seeing that with Nassir. Like it used to be he'd catch it in the corner, and if he had a straight line drive, he'd go and kind of slash in and dunk it. And if not, he would throw up a three that usually wouldn't go in. But he's adding a little bit more variance. Like you were saying, he looks a lot more comfortable putting the ball on the floor. Obviously, this is a very small sample as well. He's played basically like the Bucks game was really the only game where he played more than like 25 minutes, and he's only made appearances in 7 of the Blazers' 22 games. So we haven't seen very much of him. So this is basically just extrapolating out of the Milwaukee game. But he is putting the ball down on the floor. He's even like operating a little bit in the pick and roll. He went through a few screens and looked pretty good doing that. And so, yeah, he just looks like his game is so much more diverse on offense than it was in his rookie year, where really like the best thing he did was offensive rebounding, slashing to the basket, just sort of taking advantage of his strength and athleticism to just create advantages on the interior. And no, it looks like he's added a lot more skill to his game, and he looks like he's really taken advantage of the off season. It's hard to know like actually how much time he had to work on his game, because he went straight from that dehydration fiasco in the bubble to contracting COVID during the early parts of the Blazers training camp. So I guess somewhere between the dehydration and the COVID, he really got a chance to work on his offensive game. But I can't. And then it's cruel fate that his one breakout game in Milwaukee was the game where he happened to sprain his knee. Like I would have loved to see him in that Philadelphia game where all the young guys were getting a lot of run. But Nassir, he should be back soon. He's questionable for the game on Tuesday against the Magic. And so, yeah, I just can't wait to see him come back, see how he builds off that breakout game, because it does seem like there's a lot of stuff he was doing in that Milwaukee game. A lot of the stuff we saw from him would be very useful on this full strength Blazer team. And so it's just very encouraging signs. It's going to be cool to see how he builds off that in more competitive settings.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So are you guys going to get CJ back maybe next week? Or is his reexamination next week and then you...
Yeah, I'm not that hopeful that he'll necessarily be back, but at least have more information. I'm more hopeful about Yusuf Nurkic being back after his 6 weeks, or at least close to it, because I feel like his situation was a little more like predictable.
That's true. Yeah, especially...
And also like a hand injury versus like a foot injury.
Yeah, those are usually a lot easier for guys to come back from. Especially like Nurkic, it won't really affect too much of what he does.
Right, like I think he could like tape and stuff if he needs to. Like,
Nurkic.
Yeah. Although with CJ McCollum out, it has been very exciting to see the continued ascent of Gary Trent Jr., who has just been wonderful. I've got Gary Trent Jr. I had to represent him on the pod today, but
let's go.
Yeah, he's just been very fun to watch. He was not very good against the Knicks, but then again, very few Blazer players were. That was kind of a scheduled loss. The sixth game of a 6-game road trip, 10 a.m. in the morning. Like that's just a hard one to get ready for. I can't really blame the guys for not really coming out strong in that one. And so I'm excited to see on Tuesday, because it's Blazers. They're looking a lot better lately. I mean, they've won. They went 3-3 on that road trip. They've won 4 out of their last 9 games. When you consider all the injuries they've been competing against, like that's pretty good. I mean,
I'll take it, dude.
Yeah.
When all those guys went down, I was just hoping we could stay afloat, and we've done that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. If I was hoping that like by the time McCollum and Nurkic got back, like we'd be within like 2 or 3 games of the 8th seed, but no, like the Blazers, we're still right up there. We're still a game above 500, and so
Yeah, dude. If when we get those guys back, we're still in a playoff spot, I'm really happy with that position.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gary freaking Trent. What a bad boy.
Here, just for fun, this is kind of putting you guys on the spot. But before we finish the podcast as sort of the last segment, do you guys want to do our Western Conference playoff predictions redone? Like list what we think the top 8 teams will be at the end of the season.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'll go first because I've actually kind of thought about it. Number 1 and number 2 and number 3, I've still got the same as I did at the beginning of the season. That's Lakers, Clippers, Jazz. Number 4, I've got to put the Nuggets up there. I had them at 5 at the beginning of the season. At number 5, I'm going to go with the Suns, who I had at 7 to start the year. 6, I've got to go with Portland because the Trailblazers, they're right up there already, and they're going to get the 2 of the 3 most important players of the roster back soon, you would think. And so I think there's a lot to be encouraged about with Portland. At 7, I've got Dallas, who I had them at 6 at the beginning of the year, so they've kind of fallen. But I'm still not panicking or anything about the Mavs. And then 8, I've still got the Warriors at 8. I still think the Warriors can make the playoffs.
Let's go.
Okay. I'm gonna go.
Hey, my 1 seed's still not out of question. We still got one more buffer game.
Wait, you can only lose one more?
Yeah. Yeah, we can only lose one more until I have to start rethinking about reevaluating our position.
Reevaluating. Okay, so I'm gonna go Lakers, Clippers, Jazz. Then I'm gonna take. I'm actually gonna take the Suns at 4.
Oh, okay.
Nuggets 5. Blazers 6. I'm gonna put.
Did you say Suns?
Yeah, I said Suns 4. I'm gonna take.
Yeah.
Damn, that's just a little. It's so hard. Their teams are all so close. I'm gonna take Mavs 7, Spurs 8.
Hey,
Right,
I can see it though because the Spurs are kind of nice. It's gonna be a grind.
Yeah, this is actually that's a good point. These are important games. This
Yeah,
week
big
between
time.
the Spurs and the Warriors. Like this is good. These are going to be pivotal games in that sort of race for the 8th seed.
Big time.
No, it could easily be the Warriors. I just wanted to.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Me and Channon, we basically had the same. Just swap the Suns and the Nuggets, and then replace the Spurs with the Warriors. So
and those things can so easily be either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many more games we have? Have they not set the second half of the schedule or something?
No, but I mean, there are going to be 72 games this season. So we're basically a little bit under a third of the way through.
Mm-hmm. Let's go. Yeah, I don't know these next games are really important. How many times do you think that the Warriors will play the Blazers during the second half of the season? Because those games are so much fun. We play them. That's our last game of the first half.
Yeah, I'm going to guess 0 just because the Warriors and the Blazers are going to have played 3 times in the first half.
Mm-hmm. Is that about max?
No, in a regular season, I think teams could play 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it's a shortened season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because usually during an 82 game thing, wouldn't the Blazers come down to the Warriors for 2 games or something, or the Warriors go up to the Blazers for a couple games?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Dang. Let's go. But I definitely think that if the Warriors make the playoffs, I think they're probably going to squeak in the 8th seed, most likely. But who knows? Maybe they'll get a 7th. That'd be wild. I'm just scared because we legitimately cannot beat any of the teams that you name that are in the top 5. When we straight up play them just for one game, there's not if I see us lined up against the Jazz or the Nuggets or something, I'm just yeah, probably not going to win that game.
I mean, you guys beat both of the Los Angeles teams.
Yeah, but we came back by 50. We were down 20.
That's true. And
They let their foot off
the
the
Lakers
gas a
and
little bit.
Clippers have not been renowned for their consistent
Both of those
efforts
games
throughout
we
the
came
season.
back from over 20 points against
Yeah.
the Los Angeles teams.
Yeah.
So
who's your 1 seed right now, Kellan?
I think probably going to go Lakers. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 2?
Number 2.
Yeah.
Brick. Probably Clippers.
Number 3?
Jazz.
Yeah. Number 4?
Do I go? I mean, do I go Suns? CP3 is kind of nice.
Yeah, I think.
Is that that how Channon had it for?
Yeah, that's who Channon had.
What other?
It's probably the Suns or Denver.
Okay, but I'll put Denver at 5 then. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't write off Portland either.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
okay.
No, yeah.
Or Dallas. I think if Dallas really comes back with their healthy roster. But yeah, I think Denver's probably the one that makes the most sense.
For fun, we could go Portland 5 and then Denver 6 and then Mavs 7.
Kellan, I would be careful. Those Denver fans are on edge right now.
No, you got a couple Nuggets fans fired up last time.
Suns versus Blazers first round would be a tough matchup, dude.
Yeah.
I would be afraid of the Suns in the playoffs, honestly.
CP3 is so good. I was watching the Mavericks game. Did you guys watch that game? And he went off.
Yeah.
He single-handedly brought him back. He saw so many guys.
He had the mid-ranger on fire that game. He kept singling out Kristaps Porzingis on the pick and roll and then just abusing him. And then
D-Book took a bad shot and sunk it.
That Devin Booker game winner was incredible too.
Dude, it's so dumb. He only had, I think, he just went off in the fourth quarter. He had like 12 points that entire game, and then he just went off.
Yeah.
Oh, Devin. Wait, who's Devin Booker? Didn't he have a thing with Kylie Jenner? Channon?
I don't think so.
Didn't he like comment on one of her posts or something?
I think. Are you thinking of Kendall Jenner?
Kendall.
Yeah, more likely Kendall. Kendall usually prefers the NBA players.
Yeah.
Kylie prefers rappers.
Yeah. You're right. Travis.
Yeah. Trav, Tyga.
Fire. Well, beating the Spurs tonight by 40, baby. Let's go. Steph is going to increase his average. He's going to have 30. He was at 27 points per game or something. Now he's at 29 point something. Now he's going to get up to 30. That's MVP caliber.
Well,
best player on the best team.
The Steph, if the Warriors can sort of pick up the pace a little bit, Steph is going to be right in there in the MVP conversation.
Big time. Channon doesn't think so.
He's had an incredible year.
I just don't think they'll pick up the pace enough to do that.
Yeah.
But if they were like,
I would be scared of him sort of falling into the trap that Damian Lillard was in last year, where he's just having an incredible season on a team that barely makes the playoffs. Like, those guys don't usually get looks for MVP, but if the Warriors can get like the 4th or 5th seed, which maybe that could happen, then I think there could be some real Stephen Curry buzz for MVP.
I mean, you look at the top 2 candidates right now are both like in the top of their conference. So.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Whatever. It's fine. All right. Good job, boys. Jonah, so proud of you. What's that one stat thing that you find that's super accurate with predicting playoff things? What's it called?
I'll send you the link to it after. It's just on 538's website.
What's the Warriors' chances of making the playoffs?
The Warriors right now, there are 2 models. There's Raptor and ELO, and Raptor is more to do with just basing their predictions off the quality of the players on your team. And the Elon rating is based off like your performance up to this point in the season. And so Raptor gives the Warriors a 25% chance of making the playoffs, and Elon gives the Warriors a 31% chance of making the playoffs.
Those aren't good odds.
Yeah, I mean the bottom of the West is so crowded right now. It's just kind of tough to gauge. Here, I'll go onto that website and I'll read you guys
because it's not even because what are the Grizzlies at, and what about the Pelicans? Are they pretty much out of question?
No, the Grizzlies and Pelicans. No, those two teams are still
in the hunt,
right in it. So I'll just read you guys the Western Conference playoff odds. Lakers over 99% chance, Clippers over 99% chance, Jazz over a 99% chance, the Nuggets have a 96% chance, the Suns have an 89% chance, the Mavericks are at 48, the Trailblazers are at 60, the Pelicans are at 40, Spurs are at 56, Rockets at 45, Warriors at 25, Grizzlies at 19, Kings at 18, Thunder at 3, and then Timberwolves have less than a 1% chance.
The Rockets have a better chance at making the playoffs than the Warriors?
According to Raptor.
The hell is Raptor doing?
According to Elon, the Warriors
what?
are at according to Elon, the Rockets are at 74% and the Warriors are at 30%. And so
Victor,
I guess
baby.
I guess 538 just they don't believe in what the Warriors have been doing this season, wow. I guess.
I don't either.
We've made that very clear. Okay, boys. Jonah, what is your shirt though? Like, I'm confused.
It says, better get off the court if you can't hang with the dog.
That's sick.
And it's
the dog.
And it's like
the dog is Gary Trent.
That is dope.
When he was taking pictures on the airplane, he had like the Bape sweatsuit.
That is so sick.
That was so funny. I forgot about that.
That's dope.
So funny.
All right, boys. This will
be later. We'll see if the Magic can hang with the dog on Tuesday. I'm gonna guess no.
No.
All right. Bye-bye.
Later.